Hi, I'm Robin Simpson. I'm Research Director, Enterprise Mobility at Gartner. Well, I suppose Blackberry is still the gold standard for enterprise security. You have a very fine degree of control over the functions on the phone and managing it in the field and looking after all the security and password policy and so on. iPhone is getting better. Since the iPhone 3GS and the Exchange ActiveSync capabilities, you can get good enough security for many types of white-collar job in the enterprise. It's nowhere near the sort of granularity of control that you get with Blackberry. When it comes to the Android-based phones and the HTC Desire, there's not a lot that's built into the phone for enterprise security, and it's one of the concerns we have about most of the Android phones. They really don't do enough. Even if they do Microsoft Exchange ActiveSync connectivity to the mail server, they often don't implement the full range of security options that are available through Exchange ActiveSync. So it's not something we normally recommend for the enterprise today, and you'd have to add third-party products to get encryption and to turn it on. Fleet management, again, Blackberry has extensive capabilities, but only for Blackberry, and that's really the challenge. You know, if you're a pure Blackberry environment, it's fantastic what you can do in terms of fleet management and tracking and so on. But if you want to manage other kinds of platforms, Windows Mobile, iPhone, Android, whatever, there are no capabilities built into the Blackberry Enterprise Server. So it's kind of a minus for multiple platforms in the enterprise. iPhone, again, the basic capabilities you get with Exchange ActiveSync are good enough for some enterprises, perhaps not for those very sensitive jobs, senior executives, and where governance and tracking and so on is important. But for general white-collar workers, productivity workers and so on, it's usually enough. If you're just doing enterprise email and calendar and web browsing, usually it's not necessary to go much further than the capabilities, the basic capabilities you get with Exchange ActiveSync. But if you're starting to access enterprise data, or you're storing enterprise data and developing custom applications on the phone, you usually need to go a bit further. And so they're starting to put in tools like the Good Server or one of the specialised mobile device management vendors, particularly if they want to manage a range of different platforms, not just Blackberry, not just iPhone, but other things as well. Then the specialised vendors have some great capabilities and give you a fairly good degree of management control. The simple rule is if you don't own it, you don't control it. Now, some of these tools do allow you to exert a degree of control over employee-owned phones. The downside is that the employee has to accept that a device that they own is now going to be controlled to some degree by IT. So employees need to accept the fact that if they want the privilege of accessing corporate email and calendar and so on, they'll have to accept the fact that IT might kill their device and wipe it if they lose it or if they misplace it. Once they come into the corporate fold, IT reasonably wants to be able to control any sensitive data that's on that device. The very consumer-oriented phones like the iPhone and like the HTC Desire and so on, you can buy them through a telco, but usually, they're so consumer, you usually really can't do a fleet deal, and the telcos are not really set up to support fleets of phones like that. Blackberry is a bit of a different category in that it was always intended as an enterprise device in the first place. You may not necessarily get a fleet deal from your telco, but some of the system integrators or the managed service providers who will manage Blackberry for you can provide you with fleet deals.